right now. This is Ticker News Insight.
Hello and welcome back to Ticker News Insight, where we are looking to focus on the best of business and speak with clever people joining us from all around the world. I'm your host, Mike Loder, and to our latest story. And despite the doom and gloom we see in the news and our stories of the future, there are apparently incredibly positive trends moving us towards an economy of sustainable abundance. Joining us now is author Justin Bean to explain this a little bit further and why we should be taking an optimistic look into the future. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
No, thank you for joining me. So there are obviously immense environmental and social challenges on the horizon for a lot of people, but why is it important for us to consider what could go right about the future, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think we're surrounded, as you mentioned, with doom and gloom. And when we think about the future, we see these dystopian futures that give us nothing to build and nothing to hope for. So when we envision what it is that we actually want in the future, that not only is a better future for us to think about, but it gives us something to work on and something that we can then construct a roadmap towards and then collaborate on the next steps that it takes to actually get there. So it's a much more proactive way of looking at the future and looking at the way that we focus our work and our energy and our time on building the future that we actually want.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you're sort of taking the might normally be a self-help outlook for an individual, putting it on a broad stage and saying, hey, if we all look at it together in this way, perhaps there's something we can do. What are some of the technology or social trends that you see that point us actually moving in the right direction, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the clearest is really renewables and the massively decreasing costs of those renewables. So prices for solar and wind have come down even faster than anyone predicted. On top of that, we're seeing artificial intelligence and all kinds of data analytics that help us to manage and measure and improve and optimize the world around us. And so that's energy, but it's also the way that we use transportation and buildings and anything that takes that energy that helps us to get to a more sustainable place. On top of that, we're able to share resources with mobile platforms. We saw this with Uber and Lyft and car sharing, but that's really going across many other markets to help us to have higher resource efficiency. So we don't need 5 Earths to support the human population. We can actually share the resources we have because of technology and do it more effectively and sustainably so that we can reach that abundance as well as sustainability.
Absolutely. Justin, what does this mean for business, do you think? Is sustainability just one of these new costs that people have to endure? Or are there opportunities that perhaps change the way we see the world around us?
Well, I think that's how a lot of businesses have traditionally thought about sustainability, but really this is the biggest business opportunity of our generation. We're systematically going through the entire economy and remaking it to be sustainable. And so that means there's opportunities across the board for businesses that want to get ahead in this race to build sustainable abundance. And so not only for big corporates that might see the opportunity there, but for startups and entrepreneurs that want to build a new solution and a new business that can either be acquired by these big corporates or go public and have success in the future. And so research has shown that companies that put sustainability and impact at their core business actually perform better, have higher margins, retain talent better. There's all kinds of benefits for this in business and big opportunities out there for businesses that want to get involved.
Absolutely. Of course, customers are expecting this to be built into a lot of businesses these days. Now, we keep hearing about climate tech and businesses wanting to become more sustainable, etc. Is this just a fad, or do you believe it's a true opportunity for businesses? Just to summarize and I guess drive that point home, Justin.
Yeah, I think it's a true opportunity, and it's one that businesses that fall asleep at the wheel or don't pay attention to may become the Blockbusters and Kodaks of the future that didn't see the digital revolution coming. And so now as companies start seeing the sustainability revolution and transformation coming, they need to get ahead of the curve in order to stay relevant. But there's not only an opportunity here for that transformation, but there's a ton of money flying at this and regulation driving it. So there's a carrot and a stick. We saw with climate tech a 3% drop in the amount of funding last year But the year before that was a record year for climate tech and venture capital in general. So last year, climate tech funding went down 3%, which sounds bad, but venture capital in general went down 35%. And when we look across the board, this is true everywhere. So last year, auto sales went down by 8%, but electric vehicle sales went up by about 65%. So everywhere we look, climate tech is taking over, and the sustainable alternatives are what are demanded by customers, by governments. So this is a public sector and private sector, and more importantly, a customer-centric approach to solving these challenges.
Some interesting numbers there, and I want to thank you for joining us on the program, highlighting it, outlining it, and of course for keeping me company today on the program. So it's an optimistic outlook for the future.
Great to be with you, Mike. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Justin. Well, there you have it. I hope you've learned something from our discussion there. I've been your host, Mike Loder. Be sure to head to tickernews.co for more. And I, of course, will see you again very soon. Be well.